221-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here from 1 to 3. Got Casey Gaines and Jacob Beck back there on the ones and twos. Denton Day, as usual, will be with us in the second hour talking all things college football. Got to look at my picks against the spread in the Southeastern Conference. The Saints can't score and LSU can't stop anybody. And that's generally what we're going to be talking about for the next couple of hours. Look, when we went out to practice, it concerned me how routine the offense generally made it look. I never claimed to be some sort of master talent evaluator or claim that practice gives us a ton of great information. I've been going out there since 2010 to watch football practice. I can tell you who's wearing a no-contact jersey. I can tell you what player's going through the drills first. That's really the only information I try to pass along. I generally don't try to project wins and losses based on what we see in August drills. But it concerned me how routine the offense made it look. You were looking at red zone periods where it was touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. Looking at one-on-ones, which I know are built for the offense, but the offense won the vast majority of the reps. And it wouldn't concern me if I knew that LSU had a bunch of 5 stars or proven All-Americans or just the general dudes they've had in the secondary over the years. I just said, man, maybe the offense is that good. And, oh, by the way, it might be. But I didn't have enough knowledge of these defensive backs to give them the benefit of the doubt. And quite frankly, that's why the Friday before LSU played Florida State, I picked the Seminoles because I said, look, I've seen Keon Coleman in college. I know what he looks like. I've seen Jordan Travis, and I know what he can do. And I think LSU's going to have a real hard time covering these guys. It turns out, unfortunately, I was right about that. And I was sitting here on Friday in my office going, okay, I don't feel very good about this game. And I took my own advice from the previous day on Thursday, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to trust that this offense is going to go out there and score a ton of points, and it'll be enough. And I was going to pick Ole Miss, and I said, you know what? I'm going with LSU. This defense stinks. It's just bad. There's not another way to look at it. I ran these stats back on the post-game show on Saturday, and I'm going to bring them up immediately here because it's where we are with this team. In the second half, Florida State got the football 5 times against LSU when they were trying to score. I'm not counting taking knees and stuff. Florida State got the ball 5 times. They scored 5 times. 4 of them were touchdowns. In the second half against Arkansas, last week in Tiger Stadium, the Hogs basically got the ball 3 times. I'm not counting the last play of the game when LSU had just kicked a field goal and Arkansas threw the interception. We'll throw that out. So Arkansas got the ball 3 times. They scored all 3 times. 2 touchdowns. At that point, that's 8 out of 8 between Florida State and Arkansas. And Ole Miss got the ball 5 times in the second half on Saturday and scored 4 times. LSU got the 1 stop on the Yates bat down. 3 of those were touchdowns. In the second half, when you have seen the game plan and you've got an opportunity to adapt and be your best self in the second half, against Florida State, Arkansas, and Ole Miss, there have been 13 drives. 12 of them have resulted in scores. 9 touchdowns. They just can't get a stop. And I would have thought if you would have told me that Ole Miss, okay, they're going to score 55 points, and you would have told me that on Friday, I would have said, okay, they just really can't cover. Like, they can't cover anybody. They couldn't cover Florida State. They didn't do a good job in the secondary against Arkansas. They just can't cover. And that's still true. They don't cover. But they didn't stop the run either against Ole Miss. And Ole Miss hadn't run the ball on anybody. Tulane, Georgia Tech, they can't run the ball. They ran it like crazy on LSU. You could try to give me Whit Weeks is playing pretty well. But basically, my thoughts are there's not a single player or coach that's doing a very good job on LSU's defense right now. Not one. And sometimes there's a glaring issue. Yeah, you don't have a second corner. Yeah, your pass rush isn't good. Well, your interior line is not very good, and you get run on. Like, it's just everything. Everything's bad. Everything is bad. And I bring those second half statistics up because they're just the opposite of what we saw last year. Mississippi State punched LSU right in the mouth in Tiger Stadium last year. Bam, 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 went right down the field twice. And then LSU just put the screws to them in the second half. They couldn't move the ball at all. It was a terrible start against Auburn. Ashford hits the deep ball. You're down 2 scores, and then the defense actually forces the touchdown that gets your momentum going and then puts the clamps on Auburn the rest of the way. Ole Miss, you're down 17-3 against Ole Miss. You pitch a shutout in the second half. Just gave them nothing. I thought those were really strong coaching moments by the defensive staff and the LSU team. And that's why I was going to give Matt House the benefit of the doubt this year and assume that he was really good. I have 1 year sample size. I can't pretend to have as much information on him as I did on Dave Aranda or John Chavis. But this year after halftime, they can't stop anything. It's just right down the field. Right down the field. And the weird thing is that LSU actually did force Ole Miss into some third downs. I'm taking my notes in the second half, and Ole Miss gets the ball in their first drive, and you get them into 3rd and 10, and they hit Prieskorn over the middle. There's just nobody there, wide open. And then they get the ball after you've taken the lead. You go right down the field to take a 42-34 8-point lead in the third quarter. You get them into 3rd and 11, easy to Prieskorn, first down. You get them into 3rd and 4. You get them into 4th and 2, and they go Wildcat and get it. Then you get them into 1st and 19, and Jackson Dart runs for 25 yards on first down. And then you get them on their last drive after the terrible squib kick. You get them in 3rd and 11, and they throw an out route that you have them stop before the sticks, and Denver Harris misses the tackle, and he goes 35 yards down the sideline. They can't stop him on 3rd down. And then it boiled down to the decision that Brian Kelly had to make. And we're going to play some Brian Kelly sound, his reaction from the post game after I give you the situation. But with 3 minutes and 39 seconds to go in the game, and LSU leading with the football, you had 3rd and 5 at your own 47 near midfield. And I thought Mike Denbrock was incredible in this game. I thought Jaden Daniels was awesome. Everything on offense was cooking. But that 3rd and 5 play call where Jaden rolls out, I just didn't like. Now, if you go back and look at the tape, Malik may have been open enough for him to throw in the ball, and then it works perfectly, and then I don't have this conversation. But what it did on that 3rd down was it cut the field in half. Ole Miss could not cover the field against you. You were going right down the field. You were either hitting guys that were open or there wasn't anybody open, and Jaden had the field to work with, and he used his athleticism to run the football. Like you were just doing whatever you wanted. When you roll Jaden out like that, you cut one half of the field totally out, and you bring Ole Miss's entire defense at Jaden Daniels. And they ran him out of bounds for a sack, and it was 4th and 7. And 4th and 7 with 3 minutes to go at the 50-yard line, the question is like, do you go for this and leave your best unit out there? And Brian Kelly was asked about his decision whether or not to go for 4th and 7 at the 50-yard line with 3 minutes to go, and this was his answer.
Too far. And we felt like you even saw, we had a couple other opportunities, right, to score, and we did, and still had a chance to score at the end there. So it just was, it wasn't, in my estimation, it was not the smart play to do it in that situation.
I'll be very honest with you. I don't have any interest in lying to you for brownie points. Like, in the moment, I'm fielding text messages, getting phone calls about that, and I said I'd probably punt. You're making them go 75, 80, 85 yards on your defense for a touchdown. Obviously, they can kick a field goal to take the lead as well. And my brain tells me, like, you just got to get one stop. They've gotten some holding penalties that have put them behind the sticks. You get one sack. You just got to make one play and get a stop, and you win the game. But the fact of the matter is that you haven't stopped anybody in the second half. You weren't stopping Ole Miss, and it's probably the prudent move to go for it and leave your best unit out there to try to get 7 yards. And if you don't get the 7 yards, Ole Miss has it at midfield. They're probably going to score pretty quick, and maybe you have more time on the clock than you did when they went 80 yards to score. I don't know. I thought it was the right thing to do to punt. It was not. Your defense is incapable of getting that stop. They've proven it not in one night, in half a season. You can't stop Florida State. You can't stop Arkansas. You can't stop Ole Miss. You probably don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. If it's 4th and 18, okay, we'll punt it. 7, you're getting 7 in your sleep. You got a quarterback playing as good as anybody in college football. You got 2 wide receivers who are going bonkers. You got a great tight end. And if they cover everybody, your quarterback may be able to run for 7 yards. It was probably the right move to go for it. Instead, they punted it like I thought they should do, and it backfires. You lose the game. It's shocking to see LSU put a product like that on the field because we're just not used to it. And Brian Kelly was asked a bunch about it today in his press conference, and he came back to kind of one default answer that they're young and inexperienced. I'll touch on a little bit of that coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. You've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued not withdrawable bonus bets expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Viewers only know as a gambling problem wants help. Call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play. with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Cold in Baton Rouge. I'm remembering what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap LSU Ole Miss. We'll hear from Brian Kelly, and we'll recap Saints and Bucks. Join us for Monday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We were in position. We didn't make the plays that we needed to make. I mean, those guys were either one-on-one or, in a position to make a play, and Ole Miss was better.
That was Brian Kelly after the game. He obviously met with the media in his general Monday availability today and routinely harped on the youth in his defense. And I think specifically the secondary is what he's talking about, because if you look at the defense as a whole, it would be hard to pin it on youth. Ovie Agofu has played college now at 3 different colleges over 5 years. Mason Smith's a third-year college player. Mekhi Wingo's a third-year college player. Jordan Jefferson, Jacoby, and Guillory, they've been in college 3 and 4 years. Savion Jones, third-year player. Braden Swenson, third-year player, fourth-year player. Greg Penn, upperclassman. You got Omar Spates, upperclassman. Major Burns, third-year player. Sage Ryan, been here a long time. Zy Alexander is an older player. Like, I'm going through the whole defense. You got third and fourth-year player. I hadn't listed one second-year player yet. Now, yes, Whit Weeks is young. Ashton Stamps and LaTerrence Welsh were out there in the first quarter. They're absolutely young, yes. So you do have some young players who are out there. Now, you didn't send Deshaun Womack out there and he didn't get a snap. But it's not that young a group. It's just, and this is what I said after the game on the postgame show on Saturday. I don't have a better way to say this. At LSU, in the secondary, we are used to Corey Webster and LaRon Landry and Patrick Peterson and Tre'Davious White. We're used to Eric Reed, Harold Simon, Tyrann Mathieu, Jalen Mills. We're used to Christian Fulton, Jamal Adams, Grant Delpit, Derek Stingley. These guys are pros. These guys are All-Americans. These guys are first-round picks. That's just not out there right now. Find me a mock that's got an LSU secondary player in it. It is what it is, man. And you can comment on that any way you'd like. Whether it changes your expectations, or you want to look at recruiting, or you want to look at the nature of college football and the transfer portal, however you want to digest it, I'm just putting it out there. That's what is the situation. And you got to find a way to coach it better, because I promise you that Tulane's defense doesn't have a bunch of pros on it either. And Quinshon Judkins couldn't run anything on Tulane. Talking about a guy that had like 199 yards total on the season through a month, and he ran for 177 on you. And it wasn't like he ripped off 2 75-yarders. This was just routinely getting 6 or 7 a pop. It's defensive line play, it's pass rush, it's linebacker play, it's coverage, it's missed tackles. Brian Kelly said today that they missed 34 tackles for an excess of 240 yards. Keep in mind, people, 706 yards is the most any team has ever gained in the history of LSU football. No one ever. That's 140 years. No one's ever rolled up 706. And they did it. And I heard Jimmy and Charlie earlier on Live at Lunch talking about Lane Kiffin and using the tempo that he had not used throughout the first month. And maybe that's what ignited him. I don't know. But LSU had to have been prepared that Ole Miss was going to go pretty fast. And it just boggles my mind that at no point were they able to show any resistance. Ole Miss was getting holding penalties that were backing them up 10 yards, and they were still just picking up the first downs like it was nothing. And LSU, we knew their third down defense was like 113th in the country. And lo and behold, Ole Miss got forced into 16 third downs. 16 of them. And they convert 9. Getting into 16 third downs is really strong. But allowing them to convert 56% of them is not. And Ole Miss got into 3 different 3rd and 9 plus. That is 3rd and long. And they were better than 50% on that. 4 out of 7 on 3rd and 9 plus. Jackson Dart on 3rd downs in this game was surgical. He was 9 of 11 for 162 yards on 3rd down. 9 of 11 for 162 yards. Jaden Daniels pretty good too. He was 3 out of 4, 43 yards. But you just can't get him stopped. And you still had a chance to go down there. You hit Hilton on the long play, and you get within reasonable distance to score that touchdown to win the game. And I'd really prefer it if you didn't get 2 false starts there. One on Malik Neighbors. Where are you going? Not like they're in press and you've got to get going real quick. Like, just wait for them to snap it. And so you back yourselves up, and Daniels rambles around, and he actually puts a throw kind of on the money. And Chris Hilton goes up, and I think a little bit more is being made of that quote-unquote drop than should be. If you watch a still picture of it, yeah, I can make the argument that that's really a ball you need to catch. If you watch it in real time, there's a lot going on around him. 2 guys crash into him. Like, it would have been a great catch if he caught it. It's not a totally uncatchable ball. It's a catch. I'd love it if he makes it, but it would have been a really good catch. And that's it. But you go through, during the game, I like to keep notes and then reference the stat sheet after it's over. I think that's probably a flawed way to do it if you're like maybe writing a story or whatever, but I think the nature of the post-game show, I think, should be more kind of emotional, and you use it as a baseline at the end as opposed to being plugged in on every single play. And I've got 6 pages of notes as the game's going on, and then you get to the stat sheet at the end of it, and it was just hard to look at. I mean, you give up 389 yards passing, and you give up 317 yards rushing. Like, usually you've got one deficiency on the defense that you just can't fix. This is both ends. You can't do either one. And it's crazy that 2013 team with Mettenberger and Hill and Landry and Beckham that was so good on offense that it broke free from the shackles that had been on for really 5 years. And that defense wasn't very good. They had lost all those guys that were so integral in the 2011 team and then the 2012 team, the Benny Logans and Michael Brockers and Kevin Minner and Thorold Simon and Eric Reed. All those guys had left by then, and you had so many early defections that you just didn't really restock it. You had like Lockature and I think maybe Ego Ferguson playing like every snap on defense. You had a young Jalen Mills in there trying to play as a freshman. Like that 13 team was not great on defense, and they were really good on offense. And you felt like, man, we finally found the offense, and the defense went away. This offense that LSU is trotting out there is obscenely good, and they can't field an average defense this year. That is frustrating. It'd be more frustrating if you didn't have 3 trophies that you could polish off over there as a fan base as we're looking at it. But having this group on offense and then trotting that out on defense where you can't get a stop against Florida State late and you can't get a stop against Ole Miss at all is gut-wrenching for LSU. But I do want to spend some time talking about the offense. I did this on the postgame show, and I did it here. I led with the red meat here. Like, that's the defense is what we've got to talk about. But I think that I would be negligent to disregard what this team's doing on offense. So I'll come back and chat about that here in the next segment. I want to give congratulations to Taylor Bro. Taylor's our Week 5 winner in the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em contest. He wins a Twin Peaks gift card. Don't forget to make your picks for Week 6 by noon on Thursday. You can play the 2023 Twin Peaks College Football Pick'em today at 1045ESPN.com. We'll take another timeout. When we come back, I do want to talk about what this group is doing on the offensive side of the football. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathandClosets.com is your website. Look, maybe you love your interest rate. You don't want to move, but you could use some upgrades in the living situation. One Bath and Closets needs to be your call. The holidays are coming up. What a great gift that would be to give to your significant other. Hey, look, brand new bathroom. David Duvall and his team can do it soup to nuts. They do it start to finish. You don't have to call 4 different contractors to get your bathroom remodel done. You call one. You call David Duvall at One Bath and Closets. They come in. They set up that consultation. They tell you what they can do. They tell you when they can do it. And you make it happen. Maybe it's that full-scale bathroom renovation. They do the whole thing. Maybe it's something simple. Tub-to-shower conversion that takes that tub out, puts in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower, changes the whole aesthetic of the bathroom and the functionality of it. You won't know what they can do for you unless you give them a call. OneBathandClosets.com. Head over to the website, check out the testimonials, look at the pictures, all that great work there, and request that free consultation. It won't cost you anything to have them come out and see what they can do for you. One Bath and Closets. You can find them at OneBathandClosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to Six Rings.
On Tuesday's OTB, we wrap up the week that was. Plus, try to shake off the bad feeling. Get excited for the upcoming weekend. Got some OTB mailbag off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Thanks for hanging out with us on this Monday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. What a great weekend for us in the world of sports here in South Louisiana. LSU laid an egg. Saints were atrocious. If you want to dump on me a little bit more, the Cubs were eliminated from the playoffs, and the Ryder Cup team was a no-show for the first 2 days. So it was tough. It's tough out there for the sports fan here in South Louisiana, but we're here talking about it just a little bit, and I do want to highlight a little bit of the positive. It's not the most topical thing these days in South Louisiana because you lost the game. But this offense is absurdly good. Absurdly good. You have to punt on your first drive. And on the second drive, you're driving it right down, and Jaden gets popped and fumbles. Okay. I'm shocked they didn't look at that for targeting. I hate targeting and thought it was a good play by the Ole Miss guy, and he certainly didn't launch, but I thought there could potentially have been some helmet-to-helmet collision. Whatever, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. After that, after you had the punt and then the fumble, you basically scored a touchdown on 6 straight drives. And this is becoming like commonplace for LSU. You saw them do it against Mississippi State. You saw them do it against Arkansas. And they do it again. They go 6 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. 6 plays, 78 yards, touchdown. 7 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. 5 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. Then you had the field goal attempt before the end of the half. So that one doesn't really count. But you had 8 plays, 85 yards, touchdown. 9 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. That is 6 consecutive touchdown drives. All of them were 75 yards or longer. All of them. None of them were short fields. And the longest one was 4 minutes and 39 seconds. You're basically routinely going 75 yards in 2.5 minutes. Touchdown. It is a freaking clinic. We asked all summer for Jaden Daniels to take some shots down the field and let some of these guys go play. Well, he's doing it, and they're going to play. Yeah, I'd like it if Chris Hilton makes the catch on that long first one. Yeah, that'd be good. I'd love it if Caleb Jackson would catch that first down out route that really changed, I thought, the momentum of the game. But this is just clinical. And you look at some of the statistics that they are now rolling up. LSU right now is 3rd in the country in third down efficiency. They convert 58%. They're 7th in the country in scoring offense. Jaden Daniels is 4th in the country in passing yards. He's 2nd in the country in passing touchdowns. He's thrown 16 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Malik Neighbors is number 3 in the nation in receiving yards. Brian Thomas leads the nation in receiving touchdowns. Malik is number 11 on that list. And Jaden's making all the throws. He's dropping the fades in the bucket like he did against Mississippi State and like he did in this game. He's hitting guys over the middle. He's hitting guys on the run. He's extending plays, making throws deep down the field, hitting guys on quick routes around the chains. Everything they do is good. The offensive line has improved. There's not nearly as much pressure on Jaden as there was in the Florida State game. They've now found a semblance of a running game that's been nice. I mean, Ole Miss has been decent on defense this year. You don't think about that when you think about a Lane Kiffin Ole Miss team, but they have been decent on defense. And LSU ran the football for 223 yards and passed it for another 414 more. You're talking about an LSU team that finished the game with 637 yards and 49 points. Basically a 50 burger with 637 yards. That's remarkably good. And it's mainly week after week. I mean, Jaden Daniels throws for 414 and runs for 99 more. He accounted for 513 yards of offense and 5 touchdowns. And it's not what we want to talk about, because the most important thing is that you win the game, and if you don't win the game, then the story is obviously going to be the defense. And we would certainly talk about the defense if Chris Hilton catches that ball at the end and they win. But it would have been in the second segment. In the first segment, you know what? This is the best offense in the Southeastern Conference, maybe the best offense in the country, and they got to figure something out on defense. But are you terrified of Missouri, Auburn, and Army? Because if you're not, then that's the situation going to Tuscaloosa. 7-1, chance to do it all. And right now, you're still, LSU's still in the same spot they were last year. It's just a Tennessee loss trade for the Ole Miss loss. But it feels a lot worse because it's year 2 and because the defense looks significantly worse. But the fact of the matter is that this offense is going to take the field in every game, and that's going to give LSU a chance to win. I mean, it feels like I'm pulling for a Cliff Kingsbury Texas Tech team right now that's throwing it all over the place and scoring 70 points and can't stop a nosebleed. But the fact is that the first part is any less true. They're so good on offense. I mean, Malik caught all 8 of his targets again for 102 yards. Brian Thomas, 8 catches, 3 touchdowns, 124 yards. You got Mason Taylor involved for 5 catches. Kyron Lacey had a couple of catches, including a 29-yarder. Diggs got involved in the passing game. Hilton showed his speed. And Jaden Daniels is playing just about as good as you can play. Every single bit of progression that we hope to see from him over the summer, we've seen. Now, it didn't look like that against Florida State for whatever reason. I think a lot of it had to do potentially with the offensive line not playing very well and getting beat. And now the offensive line is playing a little bit better. He's got more protection, and there's a running game component that goes with this. And so he's been great. He's still taking care of it. I mean, they almost dropped a pick on the last drive, sure. But that's desperation time. But he's still taking care of it, and now he's making those plays down the field. 16 touchdown passes in 5 games. That's better than 3 a game. It's just a shame that you tried out this machine of an offense, and you got to turn around and go, God, defense, goodness gracious. But that's where they are. Brian Kelly talked a lot about it today and essentially said, look, we've got to get better. We've got to tackle better. We've got to work on tackling. We got to get these guys some experience. They brought in Pete Jenkins for whatever that's worth. But nothing on that defense is very good. The offense, pretty impressive to watch. All right, we'll take a quick time out here, give ourselves a little bit more time on the back end of this thing. Back end of the hour, we can talk about Saints, and then we'll get into some SEC football. I've got some takes about the SEC. 104.5 ESPN, along with Acura Baton Rouge, teaming up to honor our military and raise funds for Folds of Honor. This nonprofit organization provides scholarships to the spouses and children of soldiers who were killed or disabled in service. To donate to this important cause, we'd appreciate if you go to our website, 1045ESPN.com. Everyone who makes a donation is going to be entered to win exclusive prizes. Folds of Honor, to honor their sacrifice and educate their legacy. Take a time out. When we return, some talk on the Saints. Pretty good defense. Offense, yikes. That's next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. This collaboration is going to provide patients in our region with access to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner is the first and the only provider in the state of Louisiana who's got a fully integrated cancer program that's based on MD Anderson's practice standards, treatment plans, got access to specialists, researchers, clinical trials, all of that here in South Louisiana throughout 7 different locations that are offering this expert care. That's in New Orleans, St. Tammany, and right here in the capital city of Baton Rouge. They're working right now to certify additional sites moving forward in the future. If you'd like more information on MD Anderson and Ochsner combining to form MD Anderson Ochsner Cancer Center, go to ochsner.org. Check them out. It's ochsner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there in the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents.
Senator, join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City. Andy Isco from Las Vegas joins us on the program, and we do first class, second class, no class. Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I'll tell you this, and I've thought this since I moved down to South Louisiana. I put so much actual time and then obviously emotional investment into LSU on Saturdays. That is the thing that my entire weekend revolves around. I have to work it, but it's just like you. Like I spend so much emotional capital on that, so much energy on that, so much time on LSU. And I know that a lot of you do the exact same thing. But I also know that there's a huge portion of y'all that wake up on Sunday after that and do it all over again with the Saints. I don't do that. I watch the Saints. I'm interested in the Saints. I hope the Saints win. The Saints lose, I don't spend a second thinking about it. Now, the Cubs lose, and I'm in a bad mood. Just, it is what it is. But you know that about me by now. But I say that to suggest that I have heartfelt condolences to those of you who watched LSU defensively on Saturday night and then woke up and watched the Saints offense and put the same emotional capital into both of those, because mercy, were both of them offensively bad. And look, I spent a whole segment last week talking about how Derek Carr, I'll just throw a guess out there, I'll probably miss 3 games. He didn't miss 3 snaps. Well, he did last week, but he started. And credit to Derek Carr for toughing it out and getting in there. I had a former NFL player text me last week saying, hey, it's just that shoulder deal. You just shoot it up and go play if you're not a quarterback. I just don't know what the situation is with a quarterback. And I was like, I can't imagine a sprained joint in your throwing shoulder and then coming back out there 7 days later and letting it rip. But he did. But this offense is just feckless. There's just nothing to it. They don't do anything well. The offensive line doesn't run block very well. The offensive line doesn't pass block very well. Derek Carr's under pressure. He's been inaccurate. You're punchless on offense. The stat line for Alvin Kamara in his return is truly amazing. I don't think I've ever seen this before. Alvin Kamara made 13 catches on Sunday for 33 yards. That's 2.5 yards per catch. That's hard to do. It's hard to catch the ball 13 times and not ever go get 12 yards. I mean, his long was 10, and most of them went for like -1. It was check down Charlie season in the Dome for sure. I don't know if that's because of Carr's shoulder. I don't know if that's because they think that's all they can do. I don't know if Carr is being conservative because he doesn't want to get hit. I don't know why it was that way, but it was. And it was absolutely worthless. To have that much talent at wide receiver and not be able to stretch the field at all for 3.5 hours is pathetic. And the offense was pathetic last year with Jameis Winston. It was pathetic last year with Andy Dalton. It's been pathetic this year with Derek Carr. And you made every effort to kind of keep the band together. We'll elevate Pete. He called some plays when Sean was suspended or had COVID or whatever the case may be. And we'll keep Jameis around and we'll run it back with Thomas and Kamara. Oh, here's Jimmy Graham. Throw him in the mix. That seemed to work once upon a time. And none of this works. You are wasting an elite level defense because you can't move the ball and you can't score any points, you can't score any touchdowns. Wasting. Kamara comes back. Okay, is this the guy that can fix it? Is there something he can do to ignite things? Well, he runs it for 4.5 yards per carry. They give it to him 11 times. They threw him the ball a ton. He couldn't get anything done. Chris Olave targeted 6 times, 1 catch for 4 yards. One of the precocious young talents in the league. Can't get him involved. I didn't think that Derek Carr would come in and set the world on fire. I didn't think that the situation was so bad in Oakland and Vegas that when he came, the shackles would be off and he'd be a top 7 quarterback in the NFL. I had no delusion that was going to be the case. But I thought that the Saints offense would be a very middle-of-the-road NFL offense. And they're so not. So not. And I spend 5 hours every Saturday with Brandon Taylor, who played on an elite defense with an offense that at times struggled in college. And he said, man, it could divide the team at times because the defense feels like they're doing their part and they're doing more than their fair share and they're keeping teams in game and they're just not getting any help. And at this point, and I don't expect professionals to act like 19-year-olds. It's a different deal. But, man, if you're on that Saints defense and you had a streak of 12 straight games where you had not allowed anyone to score 20 points and Buffalo and the Bucs just cracked that at 26, and you don't have anything better to show for it than this, that's maddening as a unit. This was a big game for Saints. You got Tampa coming in, who at this point looks like the favorite in the division, which is shocking because they've gone on the road and beaten New Orleans, and they've got a 3-1 record. Carolina can't beat anybody, and we'll see what the Desmond Ridder Falcons are, but they didn't look great on the Toy Story set or on TV yesterday. So this is a situation where you could have pushed it to 3-1, shown you were the superior team in the division, and put yourself in a really good spot. And one game this early in the season in this division is not going to be the end of the world. You've got plenty of time to make up for it. But the fact of the matter is that the Saints got dominated on their home field because their offense is atrocious. And at this point, I'm finding it difficult to suggest a plausible reason why it would get a lot better. It wasn't good last year, no matter who was playing quarterback. It hasn't been good this year, no matter who's playing quarterback. And I don't know where you could have said, well, Penning will get better and they'll get Kamara involved and then all of a sudden it'll start taking off as Carr kind of gets some rapport with these receivers that he hasn't worked with in a regular season. But you're a month in now, and Kamara did come back. And there's just not... The only thing I could try to draw on would be saying Carr was hurt. He couldn't really stretch it down the field with any accuracy or zip. So they played it vanilla like the Bengals are doing with Burrow, where they're getting it out every 2 seconds and not putting him in harm's way. And maybe that's the case, but that's a stretch. I think you've got a coordinator who's not doing a very good job, an offensive line that is not nearly performing at the level it was drafted at or paid, an average quarterback, and atrocious results. That's basically what your New Orleans Saints off is. And the defense is still good. And so there's still reason to get up and watch the game, like if you're an LSU fan, you say, well, we might outscore them. And the Saints might hold you to 10. And you might get a pick six, and you might win a game 20-13. It's not like the entire roster is a disaster, but the offense is so bad, like LSU's defense is so bad, that it's just difficult to muster up hope of big things happening in the future. Right now, it feels like with the Saints, you've got a better chance of this entirely falling apart and wholesale changes going on in the offseason than it does when this really comes together and all of a sudden the Saints are the division champion with a real chance to get 2 or 3 weekends into the playoffs. Right? I mean, if I told you the Saints were playing in the second round of the play, the division's so bad, it changes your perspective. Like, I want to say that the Saints can't make the second round of the playoffs. There's a better chance they would fire the staff than make the second round of the playoffs. But the second round of the playoffs is pretty attainable at this point in that division, I think. But as far as like getting the NFC Championship game, beating Dallas, beating San Francisco, beating Philadelphia, some of those teams you would have to beat to make this happen, it's not. It just doesn't feel like that at all. So we'll see. Maybe Carr gets healthy. I just what you watched on Sunday was just deflating. And from the point where it was 17-0 against Green Bay, and you're going, man, this team's about to come back home 3-0 to play the Bucs, to get to 4-0 at home against Tampa, who we think's tanking. From that point where you give up 18 unanswered in the fourth quarter and then throw up all over yourselves in the dome against Tampa, it just feels a lot worse than it did at the end of the third quarter last week. And sadly, like, that's probably closer to reality than the first 2 weeks and the first 3 quarters of the Green Bay game. I'd love to be wrong. But we'll have another weekend next weekend, and we'll say, all right, LSU's got to go up to Columbia and get a win, feel better about yourselves, and hey, Saints, just keep rattling off teams that we didn't think preseason were going to be very good at all. And next up on that venture is the Patriots, who looked awful yesterday. I don't know. It's crazy. Just bad performance there by the black and gold, and bad performance by LSU. So that's an hour of basically negative talk. That's a really fun way to start your work week. When we come back, I have some takes on the Southeastern Conference. I'll give you my my gambling picks and how those went as well. We'll get to Denton Day in the second hour, too. Denton does a great job with SiriusXM each and every Saturday night. And so we talk all things college football with Denton. So excited to get to do some of that here in hour number 2. If you missed any of hour number 1, you can always catch it on demand. We support that wholeheartedly. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, or on our website, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. 30 minutes on, 45 minutes on LSU, 15 minutes on the Saints. If you want to check that out on YouTube, Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. They've always got you covered right there. We'll take a time out for Sports Center, and we'll come back talking some SEC football. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
The
best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Grizzlies superstar John Morant will be permitted to practice and travel with the team while serving his 25-game suspension to start the season for conduct detrimental to the NBA. He was suspended for posing with a handgun in a live stream video May 13th, less than 2 months after an 8-game suspension for displaying a handgun on another live stream video. 76er star James Harden not in attendance for the team's media day today. GM Daryl Morey said Harden continues to seek a trade. The team is working with his reps to resolve that in the best way for everybody. Philly's asking price remains high. As a result, Harden still a member of the Sixers. Teammate Joel Embiid.
Hopefully the situation with James get resolved. If he's here, we love him. You know, we want him to be with us, and I think we have a better team with him on the floor. So, and I think he knows it too. So hopefully that get resolved. Then, you know, if that doesn't change anything, it doesn't change the goal. It doesn't change anything. You know, the goal is still to go out there and try to win a championship, whatever it takes.
NFL quarterback Desmond Ridder will remain the Falcons' starting quarterback despite his struggles.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up Tuesday, the MLB playoffs are here, and I'm going to tell you all the storylines you should be paying attention to. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
All right, hour 2 on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. Hope your work week is off to a great start. Appreciate you spending some time with us. Let's shift gears from the two losing hometown teams, New Orleans Saints and LSU Tigers, and focus on the rest of the Southeastern Conference. First of all, my picks. Told you I liked Kentucky against Florida laying a point. That was a winner. Told you I liked A&M to smoke Arkansas. I thought that laying 6 there was easy money. It sure was. That was a winner. Laid the 14 with Georgia. I knew that was a stinky number. It's not right. Auburn played them right there off their feet until the end. That was a loser. Took Vanderbilt and 13 points against Missouri. Thought maybe a look-ahead spot for Mizzou. Vanderbilt's just that bad, so 13.5 was not enough. That was a loser, but I got home in the 2 night games. South Carolina and Tennessee, I laid the 12 in a revenge spot with Tennessee and won, and I laid the points with Bama as well. It was 14.5, and I got home there. So a 4-2 week for me against a number. That brings our season-long total to 23-24 against the spread. Hopefully, next week at this time, I'll be over 500 with SEC picks. All right, my takes on the games. I got a lot of grief for putting Tennessee over Florida in my power rankings after Florida smoked them. And the reason I did that is I'm just not going to react to like one game. And Florida, if you look at the Tennessee game, looked great. But also, Florida got hammered by Utah and a backup quarterback, and then went out last week against Charlotte and scored 1 offensive touchdown. Like, they've still got real issues in Gainesville. And we didn't know about Kentucky. They had played 4 layups. We don't know what they are. But Ray Davis is proven to be a stud. He's run for 594 yards and 8 touchdowns. He was really, really good in the game against Florida, busted off a couple of really long ones early. It was rocking in Lexington, and when the dust settled, Ray Davis had run for 280 yards and 3 touchdowns, and it was a 33-14 shellacking. It was not a great day for Devin Leary. He was not awesome, especially in terms of completion percentage, but Kentucky just overpowered Florida, who's just not a very good football team. They played really well against Tennessee, and for whatever reason, when the Vols go to the Swamp, things go really poorly for them. But Kentucky is a pretty good team, and I thought that was a pretty impressive showing. Here's maybe my biggest takeaway from the weekend, and you can call it a hot take if you want. I am petrified about how the next 8 weeks are going to go, because I think A&M might be the best team in the West. Now, you could look at Alabama and say maybe they figured some things out and they're playing a little bit better because they stifled Ole Miss and then just destroyed Mississippi State. And maybe that's true. And we'll find out real quick because it's a net game on the schedule. But A&M's defensive front just whitewashed Auburn last week, and they did the same thing to Arkansas's offensive line this week. Max started the game just smoking hot. He was hitting guys on deep balls like he did when he came into the game 2 weeks ago against Auburn. And he's got weapons. Evan Stewart's really good. Aniyah Smith's really good. Moose Muhammad, really good. Noah Thomas, really good. Jake Johnson, talented player. And now they got Le'Veon Moss from right here in our backyard running for 107 yards. And the score says 34-22. That game was not close. Like, Trey Biddy covers Arkansas for hogsports.com, and he's kind of like me. He's just a huge Arkansas fan who covers that team. I'm just a huge LSU fan who covers that team. And because of that, we have our inherent biases, and we look at things through the lenses of our team. And he's pretty pro Arkansas. And after that game, he said that this game was not close. And that doesn't happen all that often. A&M's defensive front is dominating people. And yeah, Max threw a terrible pick six. That's the one that, like, it's the offensive coordinator's worst nightmare because you throw the bubble screen and the corner, just intercepts it. I mean, on the run, going towards the end zone, and there's just nobody there to stop him. And then Max fumbled on the next drive, and Arkansas got a little momentum there, but they couldn't score on A&M. That defense all of a sudden is playing pretty well. They got torched against Miami, but I'm still not sold on Milroe. I'm still not sold on Alabama's offense, and they got to go to Kyle Field and play. Now, I'm hoping the next 2 weeks are awful for A&M. I will say this on Monday because we'll get to this on Friday when we talk about the game, but I will say it on Monday. I'm pulling for Alabama on Saturday. I don't do that very often, but I'm pulling for Alabama on Saturday. I've already lost the war in Tuscaloosa. They've got 100,000 national championships under Saban. They've beaten us a million times. Like, if they go to Atlanta and win, I'll just have to live with it. I can't have A&M in Atlanta. Nope. Can't have it. I can't have them with a running back who's from right here in Baton Rouge. They got the number one player in the state headed there out of this class. I got to put a stop to that. I can't have them. So I'm pulling for Bama. I think A&M is probably the best team in the West. Disgusting, disgusting stuff. Arkansas might not win again for a month. We'll see. Georgia and Auburn. Heck of an inspired effort by Hugh Freeze's crew. They played really well on defense. Got to the half tied at 10. Got to the fourth quarter tied at 17. Peyton Thorne's ripping off big runs down the sideline. I didn't even know he could do that. But just too much Brock Bowers in the end. I mean, he goes for 157 yards and a touchdown. They just couldn't tackle him, just acting like a transformer out there. But that was a gutty effort from Auburn. And that's just one of those deals where Vegas gets it and I don't. Because I would have set that line at least 20. And they had it set at 2 touchdowns, and Auburn still covered. Auburn's defense has been decent. They just haven't had any offense, and they found a way to create a little bit in this game with Thorne running, and they kept it close. Let's see. What's my next game here? Let's go to Alabama, Mississippi State, because I was listening to a Mississippi State podcast last night just about that situation, and there is now a real sense in Starkville that they've hired a bad coach. And it's early, and you're trying to overhaul things and change from a unique system in the air raid and do it your way, but the defense is bad now. This is a veteran defense with a coach who has fielded a couple of pretty quality defenses in Starkville. They can't stop anybody. And if you're looking at this realistically and you're looking at Mississippi State and you say, okay, you beat Southeastern and then you beat Arizona in overtime in a game you got 5 turnovers in. Then you got walloped by LSU. You gave up 37 points at South Carolina and lost, and you were non-competitive with Alabama. Where is the next conference win? Do you think they're going to go to Fayetteville and win? That's the next league game. I don't. Do you think they're going to go to Auburn and win? They could. They definitely could. But if Auburn plays like that, they did this weekend, they won't. And then it's Kentucky, who's way better than you, at A&M. You're not going to win that one, and I don't think they're going to beat Ole Miss either. You could very, very, very realistically be looking at this Mississippi State team that's 0-3 and have them 0-8 in the league. I whiffed on them. I thought preseason that A&M that Mississippi State would be a pretty good team. With a veteran defense and a veteran quarterback, I thought they'd be pretty good, and they're terrible. Just terrible. And the question is, did Alabama find a little something offensively in this game where they went up and down the field and scored 40 points? They got some short fields. Rodgers threw 3 picks. But Milroe ran it 11 times, 2 of them for scores. He was 10 of 12. Did they find something? I don't know. I can't give them too much credit against that Mississippi State team because everybody's throwing it all over the place. I mean, you look at the past 3 games for Mississippi State. This is almost a statistical impossibility. Jalen Milroe goes 10 of 12. 10 of 12 against Mississippi State. Spencer Rattler was 18 of 20. So that's 28 of 32 between those two. And then you look, I mean, y'all watched what Jaden Daniels did to that team. It was a clinic start to finish. Jaden Daniels finished 30 of 34. So that's 58 of 66. Let me do some quick math on 58 of 66 completion over 3 weeks against Mississippi State. 58 out of 66. 89% completion over 3 games. Mississippi State was in such a bad spot, such an unfortunate circumstance, a tragic circumstance with the passing of Mike Leach. But there's significant feeling now that they've hired a guy that can't do the job. And I don't expect them to beat Alabama or LSU. But they were completely non-competitive. And if you go 0-8, there really might need to be some decisions made. They've got a new athletic director in there. See if he shakes things up. We got a long way to go, but there's feeling like that may be a sinking ship. And that's a hard job. But 0-8 is not good. Like, you just can't do that. So, Tennessee routed South Carolina. Missouri routed Vandy, and we'll talk about Missouri a lot this week as we move forward. But those were kind of my biggest takeaways. I'm petrified of Texas A&M. We'll see if Alabama found something on offense this week when they go to College Station. And Mississippi State might be in some big trouble. Those are my thoughts on the Southeastern Conference. Denton Day, shed some light on some of that coming up in 20 minutes. We'll come back with more. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric can help you out when the power goes out over at Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have operated Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They're a certified Generac generator dealer. They're a premier Generac generator dealer. Every Generac generator that comes from Boudreaux's Electric comes with a free 10-year warranty. Not all generators are the same. They customize a generator to your home, no matter the square footage or what you want that generator to do. Some people, I want my house running at 100% capacity. Make that happen. They can do it. Some people just want some necessities. Let's keep the AC rolling. Let's make sure the fridge and freezer work so we don't have to throw out all the food. And we'll deal with the rest of it. Boudreaux's Electric can do that for you too. And they'll monitor your generator 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if it does malfunction, whether that's during a storm or just in the course of a general day, they'll know they can come out and fix it. Boudreaux's Electric, same phone number they've had for 40 years. Give them a call, 985-397-1562. It's 985-397-1562. That is Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We'll recap LSU Ole Miss. We'll hear from Brian Kelly, and we'll recap Saints and Bucks. Join us for Monday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
For those that missed a little bit earlier, the SEC announced kickoff times for 2 weeks from now when Auburn comes to Tiger Stadium, and LSU is in a little bit of a flex situation. They will either play Auburn at 6 o'clock in Tiger Stadium or 6:30. One of those will be on SEC Network. One of those will be on ESPN, the primary channel. So we'll find that out next week when they announce TV times. But it's going to be a night game inside Tiger Stadium between LSU and Auburn. I wanted to spend a little bit more time, unfortunately, on the LSU defense here before we get to Denton Day from SiriusXM talking college football coming up in our next segment. One of the things that's really disheartening when you think about this LSU defense is that they've kind of pushed all the buttons. What do I mean when I say that? I mean, there just aren't a lot of personnel changes that they can make. You could play Jordan Jefferson more at defensive tackle. You could play Deshaun Womack more at defensive end. You could play Whit Weeks more at linebacker. You could roll with LaTerrence Welsh and Ashton Stamps. But the fact of the matter is that those folks have already played some. Now, I don't know why Womack didn't play at all in this game. Shea Dixon of On 3, the Bengal Tiger, asked Brian Kelly today if Deshaun Womack was available in the game. He said that he was. I didn't see him out there. So those guys can play more. But it's not like you've got guys that you just haven't put out there. Like, you basically have played who you've got on defense. Like, I related a little bit to a baseball season where, like, you're really struggling offensively. Are there a couple of guys on the bench that you can go to here that maybe don't play as good a defense but might give you a jolt offensively? Give them a shot. Like, in this situation, you've played all your DBs. You've played Zy Alexander, and you played Deuce Chestnut in the first game. It didn't go well. And you put Denver Harris back in there in week 2, and it didn't go so awesome. And then this week, you started the game, and you had Ashton Stamps out on one corner and LaTerrence Welsh on another corner. Like, we've seen all those guys. We've seen Whitweeks play on defense, and he was out there against Arkansas, and it didn't go very well. And he played a good bit against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss still scored a ton of points. We've seen LSU play some other guys at defensive tackle. Mason Smith wasn't eligible in the Florida State game. It wasn't great. They've rotated some guys at safety. They've played Ryan Yates, and they've played Sage Ryan. This just comes down to, like, can you get it figured out and play better with the guys that you've got? I opened the show talking about how much I approved of LSU's second half defense in a lot of the games last year. And I thought the coaching staff saw some things early and changed the tide of the game. I hesitate to use the word adjustments because it's such a cliche thing. It's something that everybody talks about. And rarely when someone says you didn't make adjustments or you made adjustments, then I would follow up with, like, what adjustment? And usually Joe Fan or whatever person's like, I don't know. And that's how I would feel. But I can tell you that all the games I listed off in the first segment, whether it's Auburn, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Florida, like any of those games, the results after halftime were significantly better than the results before halftime. And my assumption based on those happenings is that there were some conversations and some changes made to the defense that made it better. I couldn't tell you what they were. But I mean, just think if you're a fan and you go, you need to make any adjustments at halftime. Or, great adjustment. And how often do you say that and then really know what they did differently? I sure don't. But that's why I was giving Matt House a significant benefit of the doubt as being a really solid coordinator, and he still might be. Like, I don't know. But I felt that way last year about a lot of the games. Now, Tennessee got away from him. Georgia got away from him. Florida State scored a lot of points. But this defense, as I look at it, like, you're just going to have to coach the guys you got and do it a little bit better. But it's not everything in a vacuum. Because, like, to me, when you go to the telestrator and your color analyst is saying, look, all these guys are playing man and this guy's in zone. And Brian Kelly admitted that happened in the press conference today. Like, how much am I going to pin that on the coordinator? Like, doesn't the player, when 10 guys get it right and one guy didn't, like, I think the player just screwed up. When you've got a linebacker in the hole to make a tackle, and then you tell me that you had 34 missed tackles for 200 some odd yards, well, what's the coordinator supposed to do? Again, I wouldn't even try to insinuate that Matt House and the defensive staff did a good job last week in preparation or in game. I'm not telling you that. I'm also saying I'm not going to dump 100% of this on one guy. Like, this is a failure by the entire unit. Poor preparation, poor planning, poor execution, poor play. All of it. And unfortunately, like, the group of people that failed is all you got. Like, you're not going to go make a trade. You're not going to go sign someone in free agency. You can't jump in the portal on Halloween. These guys are going to have to play better. The only adjustment you can kind of make from a personnel standpoint is playing some younger guys more. But Brian Kelly just talked about all press conference for 25 minutes about how a lot of the issues are because of youth. Now, I pushed back on it and rattled off the entire defense, and it's a lot of third and fourth and fifth year guys. But you could get younger. I don't know if that necessarily makes you better. Look at the quarterbacks yet to play. Brady Cook's been playing well. Peyton Thorne's not very good. But you got Jalen Milroe, Max Johnson, Graham Mertz. You got to find something somewhere on this defense because essentially, what do we need? What do you need to hold teams to? 28, 30? You hold everybody. If you hold everybody on the schedule moving forward to 30, what's LSU's record going to be? Probably pretty good. Probably pretty good. They'd have won this one by 20 points. They held them to 30. So it's a disheartening thing to look at and go, I just don't know what else they can do. They're just going to have to coach these guys better. And that's what Brian Kelly says. So we'll see if they make some wholesale adjustments to playing time on Saturday. You'll get a good look at it against Missouri. But my gut tells me it's going to be a lot of the same guys. I mean, Brian Kelly said last week, like, you're going to see a lot of Womack, and he didn't play. So maybe it was discipline. I don't know. Deuce Chestnut did not travel. Sounds like that was a coach's decision. Maybe some disciplinary stuff there too. I don't know. But it's just it's a tough spot for that LSU defense at this current juncture. Good news is hopefully the offense is there to bail them out more often than not. All right, that's about it. That's all I can do on LSU's defense today. I gave you 30 minutes at the top of the show, or maybe 45 minutes at the top of the show, and there's a little bit more for you. Let's change gears. We'll talk some national college football as well as some SEC with our guy Denton Day from SiriusXM's College Football Overtime. He is coming up next here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about FanDuel. Got to step into the NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get on the action than right now. The app's easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager. Only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues. No withdrawal bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction.
On Tuesday's OTB, we wrap up the week that was. Plus, try to shake off the bad feeling. Get excited for the upcoming weekend. Got some OTB mailbag off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline now and chat with our guy Denton Day, SiriusXM's college football overtime every single Saturday night from 11 to 1 our time. Denton, how are you, sir?
Hunt, what's going on, man? A great weekend of college football this weekend. I'm living good.
It was a terrible weekend for football. LSU can't stop anybody. The Saints can't score any points. It's a bunch of sad people down here in South Louisiana. You have any thoughts on LSU's defense giving up $1 million to Ole Miss?
I was stunned. I thought I was watching USC for a little bit of that game. I was like, why? When did these guys forget how to tackle? You know, I looked at it was really jaw-dropping to see those two teams, combined for 1,300 yards. Like LSU, they had 627 yards of total offense, and they had the lesser of the two. Like it was stunning to watch. I mean, I know Ole Miss is good at offense, right? But after the way they played last week against Alabama, to see them do this, I was flabbergasted.
Everybody was down here. It was the most yards ever given up by an LSU football team, and it sadly comes in a game where the offense was absolutely brilliant. What's your impression of Jaden Daniels been through a month of this season?
I thought he's been really good, right? Like even this weekend, obviously they didn't win, but he played really, really well, and he was coming up in big spots. I think he has a natural gamer about him, so he's a fun guy to watch, man. But it's just the defense. But as far as he goes, I thought he's been really good. I think he's been really good, and I think he's going to continue to be really good. They got one with him.
Yeah, LSU's going to be in every game, I think, because the offense is so good. It's just a question of can they stop anybody, and that certainly remains to be seen. Let's stay in the SEC. Usually we sprinkle around nationally. We'll do that after we talk a little SEC ball here. Look, Mississippi State's not good. LSU saw that 3 weeks ago, but Alabama hangs 40 points in that one. Do you think there's a little bit of offensive rhythm materializing in Tuscaloosa?
I do think that it's moving that direction, and they found their formula, which is running the football. If you can average 4.5 yards a carry, there's no reason to drop your quarterback back and throw it, right? They only threw 13 times total, and they put up 40 points. That's a pretty good formula if you're going to have that success. So I think now that they are committed fully to Jalen Milroe, they are catching a little bit of a rhythm offensively, and I think that bodes really well for Alabama. This is a completely different team. It feels like just in the eye test than what we saw a couple weeks ago against Texas.
Ray Davis goes for 280 yards on Florida's defense. Kentucky trounces Florida 33-14. They've won 3 in a row in that rivalry now after taking 30 years off. Is Kentucky at 5-0, 2-0 in league play, a legitimate threat to Georgia in the East?
Yes. That sounds crazy, doesn't it? First of all, Ray Davis is one of my favorite players. We
He's
had
good.
him on after that game. He is, not only is he great, he's like the most humble dude ever. So a very, very easy guy to root for. But when you look at the teams that Georgia has played this year, I mean, Auburn gave him a little bit of a run this weekend, and there were points in that game where I thought maybe Auburn's actually going to pull this off. Of course, they didn't, but I look at Kentucky as being the best team that Georgia will have faced up to this point this season, and if they can have success running the ball, which is a lot easier said than done, as you know, against the Georgia defense, even if it's not like the national championship best defense we've ever seen that they had a couple years ago. I don't know if Ray Davis is going to go for 280, but if they can have some success running the ball, Georgia is much more vulnerable this year than they've been in years past. So I think Kentucky, yes, I think they're a legitimate threat to Georgia this year.
So you probably don't know this about me. I am chairman of the Aggie Hate Club. I have been very open about it. It's all rooted in fear because I know what resources they have, and I don't need them waking up and figuring anything out over there. That's why I hate them so much, and I pull to kind of keep them down. And I said it a couple segments ago, like I think there's a real chance they're the best team in the SEC West. Do you see it that way?
First of all, are there membership dues? Can I join that club? What's the situation?
All are welcome. All are welcome. I'm just leading. It's been a really good run here for the last 10 years, but I'm a little nervous at this point.
Because my disdain for them is more based on the fact that their fans feel like a cult than anything.
Yes.
But when I look at this offense, I still have some questions just because of the quarterback. And Johnson played well this weekend, but we saw Connor Wegman play well one week, and then he kind of took a step back. So I need to see consistency at the quarterback position before I can sit here and say they're definitively the best team. I still think, even though I know LSU's defense didn't play great this weekend, I still like LSU offensively more than I like Texas A&M. So I would say no, they're not definitively the best, but they're definitely in the conversation with Alabama and LSU.
All right, let's take it a little bit more national here. Who's better, Michigan or Penn State?
Michigan. Michigan's a more complete football team. Penn State has a good defense. They really rely on the run game, and Drew Aller has all of the potential to be a really, really good quarterback in the Big Ten Conference and potentially nationally. He's not there yet. Now, that will come, but right now, I know Michigan hasn't played a ton, but I like Nebraska's defense. I think Nebraska is actually a better team than their record suggests. Now, I know if you follow Nebraska fandom, like that was very tiring a couple years ago when they were dubbed as the best 3-win team ever in college football. But I think they're a little bit better than their record suggests. And Michigan, they don't have a lot of holes. They don't have a lot of holes on either side of the ball, but especially on offense. So I think Michigan's the best team in the Big Ten.
How good is a 40-14 win for Texas over what was an unbeaten Kansas team with a pretty dynamic quarterback? And what do you think of the Longhorns as we flip to October here?
I really like Texas. The way this game played out, I don't know if the score truly suggests how close it felt at certain points. Like there was a potential in the third quarter. I'm like, wait a second, is Kansas going to, without their normal starting quarterback, are they going to find a way to win this game? That Texas started a little slow and then eventually they picked up. You're going to really get to see what Texas is made of this weekend against Oklahoma. And the same thing you can say for the Sooners. This is going to be a real good test to see which one of these teams is a legit national championship contender and which one has potentially been posing as a fraud for the first couple weeks.
That's probably the game of the week in college football. Oklahoma and Texas, the top 15 matchup. Both teams are undefeated. I think the one that, and I just alluded to this, but is catching my eye here is Alabama headed to College Station. We're 5 days out here, but do you give the Aggies a real shot to win that one?
Yeah, I do. I do. Now, their offense, again, is going to need to stay consistent with what it was this past weekend, but I do give them a shot. I would still put money on Alabama, though. That's just the way that it is, especially the way that Alabama's defense is. They're also getting into a rhythm. Like, so much of the focus has been on the offense, and understandably so, because from what we've seen the past few years, Alabama's offense is really, really good. And from what we saw through the first couple weeks of the season, they were really, really bad. But I think their defense in Alabama has gotten significantly better. So I give Texas A&M a chance just because we've seen that game be closer than anticipated too many times to say there's no chance, but I would still put money on Alabama.
Chatting with Denton Day, college football overtime every Saturday night, 11 to 1 our time here in Louisiana. Looking forward, we ask you this pretty much every week. Who's the best team in the country right now?
I think I'm going to change my answer. Last week, I think I told you Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm jumping on the Michigan train.
Okay.
I think the way they beat Nebraska 45-7, JJ looks good. Their running game looks good. Roman, their wide receiver, Wilson looks good. I think Michigan's the best team in college football.
Does Caleb Williams have a real chance to win back-to-back Heismans? 21 touchdowns and 1 interception thus far, and he outdueled Colorado over the weekend.
Oh, yeah, 100%. He's the front runner, which is crazy. Obviously, winning back-to-back Heisman, nuts. But if you're a degenerate like I am, if you look at Heisman odds for the past 20, 25 years, usually the odds-on favorite entering the season is nowhere close to actually winning the thing. Caleb is the front runner, and you know what's crazy? I think the second place guy right now might be Brock Bowers of Georgia, which is nuts to think that a tight end is in that conversation, but that dude's a legit game wrecker.
He was unbelievable in the game on Saturday. What about Ray Davis? Is there any chance there?
I wish. I would love. It would be the best story in my life if Ray Davis wins the Heisman. But we've seen this with running backs.
Yeah.
It's not fair, but the Heisman voters don't like running backs.
We shall see. All right, man. We appreciate some time on this Monday. We'll do it again next week.
Hunt, appreciate it, man. Be good.
He is Denton Day, as we said, every single college football Saturday 11-1 our time on college football overtime. Appreciate him kind of looking at some things from a national perspective. The slate has some pretty good ones this week. Oklahoma and Texas will be the headliner. That's going to be at 11 o'clock in the morning. As we look ahead to next week, Alabama and A&M are the 2:30 CBS game. Kentucky and Georgia are the late game. We'll have a chance to watch that. That's in Athens. Georgia's a 14.5-point favorite in that game. And, you know, we always say that, like, Mark Stoops has kind of hit his head on the ceiling there at Kentucky. There's not really much else you can do. And I'm not going to suggest that running Florida off the road is some sort of massive accomplishment right now, because Florida's just not great. I don't know what got into them in that game against Tennessee, but Utah did the same thing. But if Kentucky wants to be taken seriously, need to go over there and be at least really competitive. We've seen Kentucky get to the point where they're a good program, and then they get to the elite level teams and they're not competitive. Need to try to be competitive in this one. So those are probably the biggest games of the weekend. Somehow, some way, LSU and Missouri still a ranked matchup. Number 21 Missouri, number 23 LSU. So those are kind of the big games of the weekend coming up, and obviously we'll do our best to move our attention that way moving forward. I was joking on Twitter yesterday, like with y'all. It was a joke on purpose because y'all understand my feelings on the end of baseball season, and guys go, all right, it's football season, right when they lose in a super regional, and I go nuts. I hate that. So I was just using some sarcasm. I was like, hey, anybody want to talk fall ball this week? And I actually got a few people like, yeah, let's do it. So, but we are going to do that. LSU starts fall baseball coming up on Thursday, so we'll get Jay Johnson on at some point this week and kind of preview the opening of fall baseball. And I'll have some reports intermittently throughout fall camp. It will not be a daily thing, I promise. We'll focus on football, but we'll chunk some baseball in there. I think when you win that title, like, it just makes people feel a little more receptive to it. If they would have lost that super to Kentucky and I'd have been bombarding you with baseball stuff at this point, I think you'd get cranky. But the fact that they did get all the way to the end, we'll talk a little bit of baseball coming up later this week. All right, let's take one more time out. We'll come back and close out a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Pumped up to tell you about Marucci Sports. Y'all are sports fans. You know about Marucci, but they were founded in a backyard shed here in Baton Rouge. And all of a sudden, they're starting making bats, and then pretty good bats. And all of a sudden, no, major leaguers want these bats, and now dozens of major leaguers are using these bats. But it's not just a bat company. They do a lot more than that. They've got their baseball performance center. Got a massive workforce, and help us out in the tourism with the Marucci World Series, which brings thousands of youth athletes, their parents and coaches to Baton Rouge each and every July. It's just a wonderful organization that was born here in Baton Rouge, and they do great things for the community. And that's why they're a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana, like Marucci, maybe it's a person, business, nonprofit, let us tell their story via LWCC. Go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana so that we can let everyone know about the great people doing great things in our great state. LWCC is Louisiana loyal. Marucci Sports, a champion of Louisiana.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come on, in Baton Rouge. I'm ready, what you put me on through. Gotta send my love down to
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from
Senator, join us for the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. We are at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City. Andy Isco from Las Vegas joins us on the program, and we do first class, second class, no class. Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, closing up shop here. Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. On tomorrow's show, we will have Glenn West to go 24/7. We'll have Sharif Ishak, WDSU, Glenn on the Tigers, Sharif on the Saints. Got to dig a little bit deeper into this LSU defense and maybe talk some positivity about the offense as well. As I mentioned in the last segment, try to get Jay Johnson on a little bit later this week. Talk a little fall baseball, but mostly football here. But to close things up, let's do some take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Ryder Cup hat gate. Take it or leave it.
Can you split the difference?
Take it and leave it.
For those that aren't aware, there was a report from Jamie Weir of Sky Sports, who's a British journalist who is obsessed with the European Ryder Cup team, and he tweeted out that like there's a fracture in Team USA. Patrick Cantlay is not wearing a hat because he wants to be paid for the Ryder Cup, and he's protesting and all this kind of stuff, and it became a huge deal, and all the European fans were all over Cantlay, and then a lot of the USA team didn't wear hats on the last day in like solidarity. It was a whole thing. Cantlay played great, but Cantlay does want to be paid for the Ryder Cup, and the players aren't paid. He's good buddies with Xander Schauffele. They were long talked about as guys who were very likely live defectors for the money. They decided to stay, and Schauffele it was up in the air whether or not he was going to be on the team, apparently, up until a couple weeks before the Ryder Cup because he wanted to get paid. And that's just the nature of where most things are in sports these days. And I would like to romanticize and look at the Ryder Cup and look at some aspects of sport and say, hey, some things are more important than money. But inevitably, almost everything boils down to money. Like John Rahm was asked last week before the Ryder Cup started, would you pay an entry fee to play in the Ryder Cup? Not do you want to be paid. Would you literally pay to play in the Ryder Cup? And John Rahm said yes.
I think every European probably would have said yes.
And there are guys on Team USA that are just cranky. And I don't think, Cantlay wants to be paid, but I don't think it affected his play. He was brilliant on Saturday in the afternoon session, and then he won his singles match playing really well. So I think he plays hard, but there's a bit of a tiff there. And it just bums me out that for 1 week, they can't go, you know what, this is just about winning, and it's a cool thing that I get to do. Like, Patrick Cantlay on course has made $70 million. Probably off the course another 35 or 40. He's made north of $100 million before his 30th birthday playing golf. And there's still something in there that says, hey, somebody's making all this money in the Ryder Cup and I'm not getting a cent of it. What's the deal? It's like, man, you're over there, you're on a team, you're playing in front of thousands of people in the most emotional environment in the sport can produce. What a cool thing to be able to do. And it still goes back to money. And that bums me out. Like, it really bums me out. I don't think that the U.S. team hates each other. I don't think Cantlay was because if he was protesting not being paid by not wearing the hat, then when asked about it, you would say, yeah, that's why I'm protesting. Like, that would be the point of a protest is to draw attention. And I would think that he would fess up to it, and he didn't. So it just stinks. And I think the thought that, well, the USA is just not as close to Europe, and that's why they don't win.
That's not true.
I don't buy that because it only came the entire Ryder Cup was decided on one thing. The U.S. goes to Europe and gets their butts kicked in alternate shot every time. It was 7-1 in alternate shot. If you take the singles and the best ball, USA won that. They won that 10.5 to 9.5. They won that by a point. They just can't play alternate shot in Europe, and I don't really know why. But the whole thing that whole thing was a bummer to me.
The Bengals are toast. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it.
I'll take it.
I think in a good division with a hurt quarterback who won't take the time off to get healthy, who's going to be hurt all year, they haven't scored a touchdown in the first half all year. It's just, you got a bad break. Joe got hurt, couldn't practice. Now he's compromised. It's going to re-injure. Like, eventually what probably happens is he has to go out for the year because he keeps playing and he'll tear the calf and he'll be out. Like, that's where this is trending. Because he's just not going to sit down, and they're not scoring on offense. He's not really helping the team being out there. They scored 3 points against Tennessee, and they barely found a way in the Monday night game last week. So, yeah, I think that they're toast.
Toy Story football broadcast. Take it or leave it.
I will leave it. I did watch it for like 5 plays. I flipped it on the stream, and it's incredible technology. I was fascinated by it for 4 plays, but I just don't think there's any market for it at all. Like, I just don't think a 7-year-old is going to sit there and watch it. Maybe I'm wrong, and I don't have a 7-year-old. So maybe I'm wrong, and I'm curious what the numbers were on it. But, like, I turned it on at the beginning, and, like, Booger and the co-host, who were also toys, were demonstrating, like, how you have to catch the ball and stuff, and I thought that there were some like kind of cute things. They made the Slinky dog the chains, which I thought was funny. And the Slinky actually moved like for a penalty. It got longer when
they're very impressive.
Yeah, and like the pick 6 was cool when they send. And I'm just amazed that they can get the 22 figures to do what they're doing, and that's a cool piece of technology to me. But I just don't think there's enough kids that would watch it that would make it sellable, which is all we're looking for. We're looking for a revenue stream, and I just don't think that there's enough you can do there. So I'll leave it.
All right, last one here. The Cubs will re-sign Cody Bellinger. Take it or leave it.
I'll actually take it.
I'll take it.
I don't expect Cody to take a hometown discount, so I think they'll have to pay him. But they have some room on their books. Stroman's going to opt in, which hurts. They're going to have to pay him a lot. But you got Dansby's contract there. You've got Saya's contract there. But I think that they realize like they need him. You need his pop. You have a ton of guys in that lineup that hit a lot of line drives, a lot of singles, and a lot of doubles. Nico Horner, Ian Happ, Dansby Swanson, Saya, like they hit a bunch of line drives, and he's the guy. He's the only guy on that roster that's like, oh, he could hit 35 homers. Like maybe Saya grows into that, but I think they will. I think they're in money spending mode. I think they got a taste of it. They gotta hope that these 2 pitchers come up and really help them. But as bummed as I am, and I talked about this last week about the 2-week collapse that the Cubs went into, that was really painful. Like, it'd be one thing if it was back and forth, and some days you were winning, some days you were losing, and you were jockeying, and you just came up 1 game short. But the Cubs were clearly in the playoffs, 4.5 games up, and then just free-falled the last 2 weeks and lost almost every night. And most of them were in dramatic fashion in extra innings or blowing leads. That was brutal. It was still a fun fun go, and I hadn't done that in a while. So having a Major League Baseball team is a different sporting experience than any of the other sports that I follow. I think that the NBA's would be similar, but like they just play every day. It's just part of the day. Like what's the pitching matchup at 8 o'clock in the morning? Okay, when's the game? Okay, and it's just like something I would watch when I was cooking, or it's really fun part day to day with Major League teams, and the losses don't hurt as bad as and the wins are fun. And now that's gone for the next umpteen months, so that's a bummer. But I think, going to go to the opening weekend series in Arlington this coming season. I think me and my dad are going to drive over from Shreveport and catch a game in the first season. So looking forward to that, but Cubs season over. And I do think that the wound hurts a little bit, and I probably won't watch a lot of early playoff baseball. I really want the Brewers and Braves to lose. I never felt that way about the Braves, but I got Hester mocking me in the halls now, so I have no choice but to pull hard against them. And I can't pull for the Brewers. But everybody else, you're fine. We'll see. All right, that's it for Take It or Leave It today. If you want your LSU football content each and every day that comes right to you, we got a way to do it. Hunt on LSU. If you subscribe to that channel, you'll get our LSU football takes every single day. Hunt on Saints as well. That's a channel that's growing. It's got our Saints content. Check that out on YouTube. You can catch all of our shows on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and as well on YouTube. Those of you hanging out in the Bayou Ford chat, throw us a like on your way out. We'll certainly appreciate that. We're all done here. Matt Moscona's about to drive you home on After Further Ado. I'm sure he's in a good mood. You'll hear from him next on Palmer Show.